Welcome and thanks for joining me. I'm Ash Baldry from WorkTest. Today, I'd like to share with you my top tips for using DISC to drive business performance. This information will be of interest if you're a senior manager, HR professional, recruiter, or consultant, and you're looking for better ways to hire, engage, and retain top talent, either for your own organisation or for a client, and drive business performance. I often watch webinars like this myself, so I appreciate that your time is precious, so I'll be doing my best to make this worth your while. I hope to share some useful information with you today and also showcase how I might be able to help you to achieve your personal and business goals this year. So I'll spend about 25 minutes covering the topic, and I'll finish with details of some exclusive offers for you. So we'll wrap up within 30 minutes. After the webinar, you'll receive a follow-up email with a copy of the slide deck, which I hope you can then use for future reference. So let's start with a quick question. Have you ever used DISC as a behavioural assessment tool? If you haven't used DISC before, then I think that you'll find this session interesting on a personal and professional level. If you have used DISC before, then I think that you'll be interested in the new ways that you can use the next generation DISC system that we'll discuss today. DISC is a simple but powerful behavioural assessment tool that can be used across a wide range of business processes, including hiring and onboarding, succession planning and skills gap analysis, leadership development and executive coaching, team building and communication workshops, sales and customer service training, and conflict resolution and career counselling. And the system that we'll be looking at today also includes an additional tool for conducting Open 360 questionnaires and employee and customer surveys. During the course of this session, I'll give you examples of how organisations use DISC in each of these areas, and you might even think of other ways to use DISC in your organisation or with your clients. Today we'll cover three main areas. I'll explain why organisations use DISC. I'll then outline to you in simple terms what DISC is, and I'll then pull it all together and look at how organisations use DISC to drive their business performance. We'll also be using some case studies to see how my clients use DISC on a day-to-day basis, and then we'll conclude with a Q&A session and a special offer for consulting services and accreditation training. I'm really excited to be doing this training with you today. Ultimately, your success is my success, so I'm really keen to make sure that you get the most that you possibly can out of this session. The webinar's been designed using the principles of adult learning. This means that you take responsibility for your own learning. It's a cliche, but what you get out of the session will depend on what you put in. So on that note, I'd really like to encourage your input. Please make a note of any questions as we go, and I'll answer them for you when we're finished. Let's get started. I'd like to start by telling you a bit about me and my company. WorkTest is based in the rapidly growing Ryde Macquarie Park area of Sydney. We service a wide range of small, medium and large clients in Australia and abroad. I've been working in the employee development sector in Australia and the UK for about 20 years. I have a degree in human resources management, an MBA in international business, and have also completed officer training at the Royal Military College, Duntroon. WorkTest is an IBM business partner and specialises in their talent management solutions, including Watson Talent and Connexa. And importantly, WorkTest is also a qualified master trainer of DISC, so we can provide consulting services and accreditation training. Anyone interpreting DISC reports must be accredited, and WorkTest is one of the very few organisations in Australia that has achieved this master trainer status, which means that, as well as providing consultancy services, we can also conduct internationally recognised 2-day accreditation courses for individuals or organisations who wish to become facilitators or consultants themselves. I'm sure that it won't come as any surprise to hear that companies that hire, engage and retain better people have higher profit margins. DISC is an extremely effective tool for achieving these higher profit margins because it can impact both the bottom line by reducing costs and the top line by driving revenue. For example, DISC can reduce costs by reducing staff turnover and non-starts, reducing absenteeism, reducing safety incidents, and reducing error rates. In addition, DISC can drive revenue by ensuring faster time to hire, improving time to productivity, increasing productivity per employee, and increasing sales and customer satisfaction. DISC can also help by improving employee engagement levels. The result of this is that employees are proud to tell people that they work for your organisation. Overall, employees are more satisfied working for your organisation. Employees would gladly recommend your organisation to others as a good place to work, and employees rarely think about looking for a new job with another company. When your workforce is engaged, your people work harder, stay longer, care more, and find more satisfaction in helping your company succeed. So, by helping organisations to hire, engage, and retain top talent, DISC can reduce costs and increase revenue, ultimately driving business performance. Now, let me pause here to explain what DISC is. To put it simply, DISC is an online behavioural assessment system that enhances individual, team, and organisational performance. It's based on what's called a 4-quadrant psychological model that recognises that we each have a mixture of behavioural styles that influence our behaviour and emotions. The DISC model is based on the works of Carl Jung in the 1920s and has continued to be developed and improved since then. It's important to note that DISC is just the underlying theory, and there are several proprietary DISC models on the market. Today, we're going to be focusing on a system called Extended DISC. Extended DISC is regarded as one of the leading providers of psychometric testing in the world. It's used by thousands of organisations and is particularly strong in Europe and the US. It was founded in Finland in 1994 and fully revised in 2011. And the next generation system has just been released. I've looked at the other alternatives on the market, and Extended DISC is quite simply the most advanced behavioural assessment system in the world. For example, in general terms, DISC theory is based on the idea that there are 4 main behavioural types. Extended DISC is unique because it measures 160 different possible combinations of these 4 main behavioural types. So, as a result, each report is very specific to each individual. The DISC model is based on the concept that there are 4 individual factors relating to human behaviour. The horizontal axis measures the relationship between reserved pace, or introversion, and active pace, or extroversion. The vertical axis measures the relationship between task orientation, or thinking, and people orientation, or feeling. With regards to the horizontal axis, extroverts are people who like being around others and interacting with them to gain energy. Being social is not taxing on them. At the end of a long day, an extrovert is usually happy to meet up with friends and socialise. Extroverts are also typically active-paced in their decision-making, speed of speech, and physical actions. On the other hand, introverts like being alone to recharge. At the end of a long day, an introvert usually likes a bit of space to recharge the batteries and might read a book or go for a walk. Introverts typically have a more reserved pace in decision-making, speed of speech, and physical actions. With regards to the vertical axis, individuals who are task-oriented see value in facts, goals, rules, achievements, and personal freedom. They typically want to work for personal goals and to do so independently. Their decisions are often based on facts. Individuals who are more people-oriented need to know the opinions of others before making decisions and consider how their decisions might affect others. Exchanging opinions and feelings is important to them, and their own opinions are often based on emotion. So let's combine all of this information. If someone is task-oriented and active-paced, we call them a D style. If someone is people-oriented and active-paced, we call them an I style. If someone is people-oriented and reserved-paced, we call them an S style. And if someone is task-oriented and reserved-paced, we call them a C style. Let's have a look at each of these 4 main styles in more detail. D styles are competitive, aggressive, decisive, and results-oriented. They prefer to move fast, take risks, and get things done now. They like to be in charge, control, and have the power. They like change and challenges. D styles can also be impatient, overbearing, and even rude. They're often not very good listeners and are prone to making snap decisions. Others may perceive D styles as somewhat self-centered, demanding, blunt, and overly aggressive. Can you think of anyone you know who is a D style? I styles are talkative, sociable, optimistic, and lively. They are people-oriented, spontaneous, energetic, and enthusiastic. They tend to be positive and good at influencing others. I styles can also be inattentive to details, overly talkative, and emotional. They may overpromise because they're so optimistic and are eager to be popular. Others may perceive I styles as somewhat careless, impulsive, and lacking follow-up. Can you think of anyone you know who's an I style? S styles are calm, helpful, patient, modest, and laid back. They are eager to help, loyal, and often make excellent team players. They tend to be patient listeners, trustworthy, and balanced between tasks and people. They're very persistent. S styles need stability and security, and therefore need change with help. They may be too willing to pitch in and at times are taken advantage of. Others may perceive S styles as too slow, stuck on the status quo, indecisive, stubborn, and even quietly resentful. Can you think of anyone you know who is an S style? The C styles are precise, logical, matter-of-fact, analytical, and careful. They need data, information, and analysis. They're focused on tasks and ensure things get done correctly. C styles tend to produce high-quality work. C styles may also focus too much on the details, becoming nitpicking, slow, and lose sight of the big picture. At times, they get lost in the analysis, focusing too much on the trees and not the forest. Others may perceive C styles as too critical, distant, pessimistic, and even cold. Can you think of anyone you know who's a C style? Behavioural research shows us that people who understand themselves well in terms of their strengths and areas for development are most effective in the workplace. In addition, people who understand the behaviour of others and modify their own approach accordingly are able to more effectively gain the cooperation of others, build successful working relationships, and improve communication channels with others. What do you think your main style is? Don't worry if you're not sure. Only about 0.4% of people will be 100% of any one style. The vast majority of us have all of these behavioural styles in us in varying degrees. One happens to be our most comfortable style, another our least comfortable, with the other two falling somewhere in between. The great thing about DISC is that instead of guessing, we can complete a simple 10-minute online questionnaire and then instantly receive a scientifically proven report with our individual profile. Let's look at some of the results we can provide in these reports and then look at how we can apply them. Traditionally, most behavioural assessment systems provide a generic off-the-shelf report that might run to, say, 20 pages. Well, those days are gone. We can now provide you with online access to a much larger range of results, including over 1,000 job competencies, and then customise a report to suit your specific requirement, whether that be 1 page or 50 pages. In this example, you can see part of a report relating to communication and how natural each of these related behaviours are for an individual. Scores in the centre are considered neutral, while those to the left show a lower preference and those to the right show a higher preference. So if we look at the first result here for considerate and careful communication, we can see that this person has a natural preference for communicating in this way. This is particularly useful during the hiring process, where you can compare candidates against your ideal job profile and even receive a simple percentage match score, which allows you to easily rank candidates. In addition, this can also be used to conduct a skills gap analysis for an individual, team, or organisation. And this can also be useful when putting together a team for a particular project. Reports will typically also list strengths and development areas, and motivators and situations that reduce motivation. Similarly, the tool also has a very good measure of the causes of stress, signs of stress, and the best way to release stress for individuals. Having access to such a rich range of results is particularly useful for conducting executive coaching or for a manager during onboarding or succession planning. The tool can also highlight a person's flexibility zones, which is a measure of a person's natural style and their adjusted style. This allows an individual or their manager to clearly identify which job tasks they can perform comfortably and which job tasks may require some additional training or support. Natural style refers to how we behave when we are most at ease and how we would ideally approach work-related tasks. This style reflects the behaviours that are the easiest and most comfortable for us. However, we often need to modify our behaviour to meet the expectations of a role. This is referred to as our adapted style. Adapted style refers to how we feel we need to adjust to better cope with the requirements of our current work environment. While individuals are capable of modifying and adjusting their behaviour to meet the demands of their surroundings, large behavioural adjustments over a long period of time are likely to become stressful and difficult to sustain, which is not ideal for the individual or the organisation. By combining individual results, we can also produce a team analysis, which is very useful for determining the strengths, weaknesses, and general dynamics of a team or even an organisation. In this instance, we have a chart of two separate sales teams that were being brought together into one division. One team was all up in the top left quadrant, and the other team was all down in the bottom right quadrant. As you can probably imagine, this provided fantastic insights for everyone involved, and it underpinned the entire change process. We can also assign names of individuals if required. We can also provide charts that are focused on particular functions. For example, here's one with a focus on management styles. Similarly, here we can look at team roles. These charts can be great tools to provide important insights into individual, team, and organisational dynamics. One thing that I'm often asked is, do you think that there is an ideal profile for a salesperson? What do you think? Well, as you can see here, DISC suggests that there are different approaches required in different situations. Let's have a look at a case study to see how using DISC to profile salespeople when recruiting can help you increase your chances of success. How often have you heard someone complain about a salesperson who came across as a rock star during the interview process, but then failed to deliver once they started with the company? Well, WorkTest was recently approached by a business in Sydney that had this problem. They had repeated failures trying to recruit and then retain the right person for a business development role that required cold calling business owners in a professional industry sector to sell advertising. We advised them that a simple but powerful DISC profile could be used in this situation to identify the ideal sales profile for the role and then match up candidates with the ideal sales profile to ensure the best chance of hiring the right person. So firstly, to identify the ideal sales profile for the role, using the DISC sales model, the client decided that they ideally wanted someone who matched the profile of the inspirator or salesperson of ideas, a combination DI or ID style. Secondly, we matched up candidates with the ideal profile. So using a standard behavioural interviewing process, the client shortlisted 2 candidates and would have been happy to choose either one, an enviable but fraught position to be in when recruiting. However, after seeing the profiles of both candidates, it became very clear who the best fit candidate was. As you can see here, candidate 1 was almost the opposite to what they required, and candidate 2 was almost a perfect match. Of course, the client chose candidate 2 and not only ensured that they hired a rock star, but also avoided making a costly mistake by hiring the wrong candidate. You know, there's never been a better time to use Extended Disc. This is because Extended Disc has recently released its next generation online system. It builds on the great reputation of Extended Disc's behavioural analysis assessments and combines them with Open360 questionnaires and employee engagement surveys. This is a customisable, cloud-based platform that's flexible and responsive, while also being simple to use. Organisations choose Extended Disc because it's a proven platform that's extremely cost-effective, whether you're looking for a simple solution or something more sophisticated. For example, we can provide a managed service, which means that you can get up and running quickly without any upfront investment in training. Alternatively, we can provide full accreditation training so you can self-administer the entire online system yourself. And depending on your requirements, we can provide proven templates for job profiles or report designs to save you time and money, or you can custom design to suit your needs or a client's requirements. Similarly, Extended Disc can be used for a very basic analysis, such as initial job applicant screening, or much more detailed analysis for applications such as leadership development. And you can use Disc for a one-off project or leverage it to integrate a range of business processes. That's because once an individual has completed their 10-minute online questionnaire, you can use their results over and over again. For example, you can produce a report to help you with the hiring decision, a different report to assist with onboarding, and then a further report to use for leadership development. And of course, this person's results can then be added to a team report, which shows how they will impact the dynamics of the existing team. All reports can also be white labelled, so you can use your own logos and branding to provide really nice customised reports that don't look like they've been purchased off the shelf. This is great for organisations who are looking to increase engagement levels on employee development projects, or for consultants who would like to create their own IP and stand out from their competitors. Let me give you an example of how one of my clients, Aussie, makes full use of the flexibility that we can provide. WorkTest was proud to be chosen to work with Aussie after they had assessed a number of our competitors. Initially, we conducted a 2-day accreditation training course for Aussie's learning and development team. This proved to be very cost effective for them because it gave them the ability to self-administer the online system in-house without the need to engage a consultant on an ongoing basis. However, they also had the comfort of being able to call on WorkTest when required to provide some help in overflow situations or when some expert help was required. Aussie is very good at making use of the ability to custom design using the system. This includes the answering interface that people see when completing their questionnaire, through to the design of a report and the actual results that are shown within a report. This customization and the ability to reuse the results that are already in the system are really the keys to leveraging results across business processes. For example, at Aussie, they've created a report to use during the hiring process, a different report for use during induction training, and a further report for use during sales training, all using the results gained from one initial assessment. Customization also allows Aussie to focus on particular topics of interest on an ad hoc basis. For example, when preparing for a workshop focused on collaboration and teamwork, the L&D team was able to go through the 1,000 competencies available and choose the top 10 that related to collaboration and teamwork. They were then able to produce a one-page report for each of the participants in that workshop, which really leveraged the information that was already in the system and helped individualise the training, which improved its effectiveness. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, DISC is a behavioural assessment tool that can be used across a number of business processes: hiring and onboarding, succession planning and skills gap analysis, leadership development and executive coaching, team building and communication workshops, sales and customer service training, and conflict resolution and career counselling. I hope that you've picked up some ideas about how you could use DISC in your organisation or with a client. If you'd like any further information or would like to inquire about our consulting services or accreditation training, then please give me a call or drop me a line. If you're a small company, you might be interested in our consulting services. If you're a medium or large size company, you may wish to start with our consulting services and then progress to accreditation training. If you're a consultant, you may wish to undertake our accreditation training, where we'll provide you with the skills, knowledge and resources you need to confidently prepare and deliver a project for a client. Whichever approach is best for you, WorkTest will be there to support you every step of the way. This concludes the general presentation. You'll now receive a follow-up email that contains my contact details, a copy of the slide deck that we used today, and you'll receive details of a couple of special offers that I hope you can use. One will be for you to take the 10-minute online questionnaire yourself and receive your very own individual DISC behavioural assessment. And the other will be a special offer to attend our next 2-day accreditation training course or undertake our online course. One question that I'm often asked is, what's the distribution of results across the 4 main styles? Here's a chart of the Australasian distribution by dominant style. As you can see, D style is about 7%, I style is about 1/3, S style is about 1/3, and C style is about 1/4. If you're interested in finding out more about the validity and reliability of the extended DISC system, then please get in touch with me and I'll send you a full copy of the report. Another question I'm often asked is about pricing. So we have a flexible range of pricing available to meet the different needs of our clients. You may just want to run some DISC profiles on a short list of candidates prior to interview, or you may want us to run some sales training or a leadership development workshop, or you might want us to conduct some in-house accreditation training for you. I'm happy to discuss specific pricing on a case-by-case basis. Thank you for joining me today. Please get in touch if you have any further questions, or connect with me to receive our latest news and special offers.